let's forget about the controller. Let's go to that feeling of I am the body. Because you're right, it's that mesh together. So we looked for the controller. Last session, we looked for the controller. All we found was a thought. There was a controlling thought. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But when we looked for that I, we never found a controller. So there was thoughts about controlling the body. There was thoughts about controlling experience. There was thoughts about making decisions. There was thoughts about deciding. But we never found the decision maker. We never found the controller. We never found the thinker. We never found the doer. Now, it seems to be strengthened because there's this sense of I am the body, this feeling. It's a sensation. It's a bodily sensation. So go to that bodily sensation. And just simply notice that it's a sensation. You might label it with a thought. This is my shoulder. This is my head. These are my legs. Notice how that's a label that you are putting onto a sensation. Really, there's just the sensation. There's just the vibration. Then what you do is then you say, that's my eyebrow, or that's my cheek. That's my nose. There's a lot of sensation in the face that gives this sense of self. This feels very localized around the face. There's a lot of senses: hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling. It's very rich in this area. Notice how everything that you can see everything. Here's the hands. You look down, there's my lap, there's your feet. Notice how you've never seen your face. You only see the face projected into a mirror, but you've never seen your face. It's like this empty void that seems to be the seat of experience. It's what's looking outward. It's like as if it could be a big lens because you've never seen it. Now go to that sensation of your face. And see that it's just this vibration of energy. There's just an awareness of this vibration of energy, a swirling, a pulsing. Then you give it this name. That's my forehead. You're localizing it. That's my forehead. That's my ear. That's my chin. Prior to that labeling, it's just the sensation. Now that sensation is appearing to you. When you label it, it becomes even more localized. It becomes heavier, denser. Prior to that, there's simply just this field of energy with a current in it, a current arising out of it, a current appearing in it. This current of energy is the bodily sensation. It's really just a sensation, and then we give it the label, that's my body. And then we localize even more. That's my eye, that's my ear, that's my chin, that's my forehead. And then it gets even more tighter, more constricted, more contracted, and more dense. But prior to that conceptual body, prior to concepts, what is it? It's just this energy in motion. It's just a movement of energy. And even energy, this is as close as we can get to conceptualizing, even energy is a label that we're giving it. Even sensation is a label that we're giving it. The word energy and sensation is just pointing to the raw experience of it. But there's no need to label it. There's a motion, a movement appearing to that which is at rest. That which is at rest is noticing the movement. That which is at rest is the reference point for that which is moving. The movement is known. There's just simply a knowing of the known. And see that the known and the knowing are inseparable. What is the known made of? Well, it's made of knowing. That energy that's in motion, that is an experience. What is that experience made of? Experiencing. There's nothing to that experience other than experiencing. The experience and the experiencing are one. Now, this experiencing or this knowing, is it limited? Does it have any confinements, any borders or boundaries? Because these borders or boundaries that you say, this is where my head is and this is where my head isn't, that's a concept. That's an imagination. because the direct experience is simply just this current of energy. Then you give it a label, that's my ear, and you are imagining it must be over here. Then you are giving that energy, oh, that's my forehead, and then you imagine that it's over here. And then everything is then imagined. So on that level, that's where the thinking and the feeling are, like you said, meshed. They're fused. Because at that level, that's where they combine. There's the feeling of the sensation, and then there's the thought, ah, that's my head. And then that thinking and feeling create that density. Prior to the thinking, there's just the feeling. Now we're saying, well, what is that feeling made of? What's the reality of that sensation? That sensation is an experience. What's the reality of that experience? What is that experience made of? Well, it's just made of experiencing. That sensation is known. What is that known made of? It's made of knowing. The body appears to be a form. It appears to be matter. It appears to be dense. It appears to be solid. It appears to be limited. But that which it's appearing to is that limited. That which it's appearing to is that a form. So it's the formless that's then modulating itself, appearing to be a form. Even that sensation, it's a subtle form. That's why I said we have to go beyond that. Beyond even that subtle form of a sensation. Beyond the subtle form of sensation, what is here? That which is not a sensation. That which is not an objective experience. Even that sensation is an objective experience. You can objectify just even that subtle vibration. That's why you're calling it a vibration. That's why you're calling it a current, this flowing energy. Even that is objectified. Prior to the feeling, what is here? this formless knowing, this formless experiencing with no objective qualities to it. The body is an objective experience. It appears to you as an object. There's a shape, there's a size, there's a texture. But that which is knowing that which is experiencing that, does that have any shape, size, or texture? No. The body is a manifestation of what you are. It's made of what you are. The body is known. It's made of knowing. You are what knows the body. The body is an experience. It's made of experiencing. You are experiencing the body. So even at the most subtle level of just simply a vibration, a modulation, prior to that, is that which is not modulating, that which is not moving. It's still, it's silent. That is what you are seeing from. That stillness and silence is what is seeing the modulation. But this modulation is not different than it. There are not two. The substrate of that modulation, the substrate of that wave of energy is the same energy, but at rest. That manifestation is made of that which is unmanifested. That which is unmanifested is seeing the manifested. That which is unmanifested is experiencing the manifested. That which is uncreated is seeing the creation. That subtle vibration is the creation. Then there's more creation with the thought and the feeling. Then there's another level to it. A mental creation. An imagination. And from that level of uncreated to then created, there's this density that on the level of what appears to be matter, that's dense. It appears to be matter, but really there is no matter because that matter is actually made of We can call it spirit. We can call it energy. But really, it has no name. So this one, we'll call it energy, universal energy, is what all creation is made of. And you are it. There's no limitation. The same energy that creates a cat or a dog or a kangaroo or a tiger or a house or a tree, it's the same energy. Where the limitation happens, the conceptualization is the limitation. To conceptualize and say, well, it's just this and it's not that. I am just this body. I'm not that. That's just on the level of concept, the mental plane, where you're imagining a border. You're imagining a boundary. With your eyes open, it's very easy to create this boundary. Here I am, and here, there's the computer, there's the cup. Because even saying, here I am, as in pointing to the body, that's already a concept. That's already with the limitation, it's already added to it. Closing the eyes, all of a sudden, all of the other objects disappear. With the eyes closed, and you might feel a sensation. And you say, that's my shoulder. There's some tightness in my shoulder. There's some tightness in the back of my head. That's still a limitation. That's still something that you've added the label to, the limit. Because then even notice how you create a mental image of the eyebrow or the chin or the nose with your eyes closed. You may be feeling the sense of energy, the wave, but notice how you imagine there to be a nose. You imagine there to be an ear. You imagine there to be a head. Prior to that, there's just simply the flow of energy. Which is not localized to any specific area. It's vast. There's just this field of energy. And there's something that's moving, and there's not something, but no thing that's not moving. And that's your place of seeing. That's your place of experiencing. from the unmanifested, from the formless, from the uncreated. That's what's untouchable. That's what's transcendent. It's transcended the whole creation. It's beyond the whole creation because it's uncreated. But at the same time of being transcendent, it's also immanent. It is the creation. You could say the creator is unmanifested, and the creation is made of the creator. There's no separation. Just like the ocean. There could be the ocean at rest, and then as the wave is, it's a modulation of the ocean at rest, which then it's an activity. It's a creation. The wave is a creation. Being created, being born out of that which is not a wave. The wave is an activity. This creation is an activity. This body is an activity. It's a process. That which is aware of the activity is not an activity. The body is constantly changing. That which is aware of the body constantly changing is not changing. Everything that is created changes. That which is uncreated is changeless. Everything that is created has a form, even the most subtle. Even feelings are forms. Thoughts are forms. Even that sensation, that vibration, it's a form. Very subtle. It's only a form that is limited. That which is formless has no limits. A form has a limit. This form has a limit. There's the outside, there's the inside. There's how tall it is, how wide it is. It's limited. Now the empty space, how is that limited? It only appears to be limited by the walls of the room. But really, the walls of the room don't limit it, because this empty space is the same empty space that is in Australia. So like that which is formless is limitless. It is the formless that's experiencing the form. The body is a form. Your true nature, what you really are, is formless. This is going beyond form. All you knew before was just this form. Now you're realizing your formless nature. Now you're realizing, I am formless. But also, All forms are made of me. I am both form and formless. All forms are made of formless. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. See that it's only form that can be created and destroyed. But that which is formless has not been created. That which has not been created cannot be destroyed. So as I was speaking, which is basically just guiding, were you exploring?
Yeah,
Okay. Were you seeing what I was pointing at? My words are pointers. I hold your hand and I say, let me guide you. Let me show you around. And I'm just pointing at things. The words are pointers. Experientially, were you exploring?
yeah. Sometimes I stopped understanding you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, uh, I was exploring.
Okay. When you say that you stopped understanding me, what do you mean? Because I'm just asking you to experience. I'm just asking you to explore. As if we're just walking on a trail and I'm pointing at leaves, I'm pointing at this tree and this rock and that water and this. See how there's no understanding that needs to be done. I'm just pointing and you're noticing. I'm not asking you to understand.
It's like I got lost in some explorations. It's
Uh-huh.
like I couldn't just take any more of your instructions, and
Okay.
I was just in exploration. And in the meantime, you might have given me some more instructions,
Okay.
but I was in the exploration, so
Okay.
I didn't
Good.
know what you
Good.
said.
Good. So with this metaphor, let's say we're walking on the trail and I point out this flower and you were just experiencing that flower and I kept moving forward, which was kind of like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
experience of wait, you keep hold on, Mr. Guide, you're going too far on the I just want to experience this flower a little longer. Yeah?
yeah.
Okay.
It's very similar to like sleeping. So
Uh-huh.
it just feels like my brain just shuts off and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah. It's like I knew there's some noise coming in, there's something going on,
Mhm.
but then it's like I was not interested in it, looking at it,
Yeah.
making sense of it.
It
I
became
knew it
background
was there.
noise. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, yeah,
background
background
noise.
noise. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Why so if that was the background, if my instructions were the background, what was the foreground?
That thing that my exploration,
Mhm. What were you exploring?
uh, like things, how things look without my story,
Mhm.
without without my narration of it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you were exploring yourself.
Well, that's a story.
Well, what
Like
else? You weren't experiencing anything other than yourself.
I was I was just experiencing something, uh, like looking at a body sensation
Yep.
and like no story around it. I am feeling this, and or this is hurting me, or anything
Yeah.
else, or this is my body and something is coming on it. It's the like you said, after closing your eyes,
Mhm.
it's there's no you sort of imagine that your nose is here, and
Yeah.
whereas for attention it's just nowhere or
Mhm.
everywhere. You can say like that sensation is everywhere,
Mhm.
or it's nowhere. So it's like that sort of I was looking at it more experientially.
Yeah. That's good. That's great. 'Cause you're right. That sensation it's everywhere, but also it's nowhere. But as soon as you lay the concept on it, then you're localizing and saying, "That's right here." But prior to that, it's just like you said, it's everywhere and nowhere. So that's good. So that what you're experiencing there is you're just experiencing like raw reality. You're experiencing experience without the filter of the mind. It's like before it goes through this filter and becomes a bunch of stuff, becomes before it goes through the filter and becomes a bunch of story and character and ideas and concepts. What is it? The mind's like a prism, like how a prism, like it's like white light creates the spectrum of colors. Before it hits that prism, that's like raw reality. It's getting familiar with that. It's exploring that. It's like it's seeing the mechanism of the whole thing. This is how the whole story is created. This is how the body's created. This is how suffering's created. Because in your experience, there was no story going on. There was no unhappiness. There was no suffering. There was no lack. There was no conflict. There was no bondage. So you see how all of that is added after. All of that is an add-on. That's why there's this feeling of removing things. That's what I said. Just remove the labeling. Arm, head, knee. Remove that. That's just a label. Just experience it without that label. Then there's just sensation. They say, okay, well, there's the sensation. Now there's the tendency that when you see that sensation, you're going to want to create a mental image. Even with your eyes closed, you'll be imagining a nose. You'll be imagining an ear. You'll be imagining. It's like the imagination localize it. That's down there. It's creating reference points. That sensation is down there from what? See, already that's an imagination. Oh, it's on the right side of my body. See, right there, you're imagining the body. Prior to all of that, there's no up, there's no down, there's no left, there's no right, because raw reality has no reference points. What you are has no reference points. The mind creates reference points. It's like plotting all these points. It's like a matrix, right? It's just plotting all these points. Oh, Mitch he's talking to me. He's talking to me from my computer over there in Canada. That's all imagination. The raw reality is that there's just the experience of sound that's arising in you. And that sound is an experience, and it's made of experiencing. And what you are is pure experiencing. The sound is made of you. The sound is a modulation. It's an activity. It's a movement.
There is no Canada.
No, there's not a lot of things. There's no things. But just like you're labeling it like on a map, like as if you'd have to visualize a map. Here's Australia, there's Canada. See how you're mapping it. But you have to see that you're conceptually making a map. The conceptual world that you've created is a map. But the map is not the actual experience. The map, you've probably heard this before, the map is not the territory. When I said let go of the map, now you're actually experiencing the territory. And you're realizing that you are the territory. Just like you map the body. That's what I said. You would close your eyes and you'd be feeling like an itch in your nose, and you would imagine the nose, and you would say, that's the itch in my nose. And then you'd feel a scratch in the bottom of your foot, and you go, that's the scratch in the bottom of my foot. But you would be imagining like almost like an arrow pointing down. And you do it so fast and like don't think anything of it. But it's like we're imagining all these directions all the time. There's a scratch, there's an itch, there's a movement, there's a stiffness, there's a tension. But prior to that, imagining what is the actual experience? It's just this movement of, we have to give it a label to talk about it, is energy. But even that is an appearance, and all appearances appear in or on something, but it's not actually something. It's appearing in you. It's appearing on you. So I said it's like the movie. The movie is a modulation. The movie is an activity. It's a movement. It's an appearance. But that appearance, what is it appearing on? It's appearing on a screen. That which the appearance is appearing on is the substrate of that appearance. That's what the appearance is made of. Even that subtle vibration, that's an appearance. What is that appearing on? What is that appearing in? Well, it's appearing on, or it's appearing in something that's not vibrating. That activity, that subtle activity, is appearing on that which is not active, that which is still, just like the movie. The movie is an activity. It's appearing on that which is not an activity. It's appearing on something that is still, which is the screen. The screen is still. So the screen is still, and that stillness is actually the reality of the activity, which is the movie. The still screen is the reality of the movie. The still screen is what the movie is made of. I can move my head. This is an appearance. Seeing this body appear, it's an appearance. Now, if I go and reach out and try and stop your head from moving, or if I go and want to touch your face or my face here on the screen, I'm touching something that is absolutely still. It's the screen. That appearance is actually made of the screen. Just like when you try and touch that feeling, that sense of I am the body, when we try and touch it, that's what I was getting you to do experientially. Try and touch it. What are you touching? You're touching something that's absolutely still. You're not touching a thing. You're touching no thing. You're not touching a form. You're touching something that's formless. When you really try and experience that form, the body, you realize that you're actually experiencing formlessness. When you really try and experience that activity, the doing is the activity, that vibration. When you really try and experience it, when you're really experiencing it, you're actually not experiencing doing, you're experiencing being. Now see that you're always experiencing this. Just like when you're watching the movie, you're always experiencing the screen. It's not a new experience. It's not like something that's getting added onto you. You're just simply, you could say, removing everything to realize what is always here. It's always here. It's just, you could say it's in the background. Now we're just moving back. That's how I got you to come back this far. We move back, strip away things, move back. Okay, yeah, but we can move back beyond that. Just when you thought you were there, I said, oh, but notice how you're imagining a nose. You're imagining an ear. You realize it's like I called you out on it. You go, oh, wow, it's even more subtle than that. Okay, I think this is it. Is this it? This vibration? No, it's even more subtle than that. That's the exploration. How far back can we go? But even that, saying that it's forward and back, that's pure garbage. That's just how we're talking about it. Because there's no forward and back. Even when I say, yeah, but let's go up higher before everything gets manifested down here on this level of manifestation and creation. If we go up, what do we find? We find some feelings. If we go up a little bit more, we find the mental plane. What's beyond that? But that's just to describe it, that whole like spectrum. But you could see it's just like it's how it's being filtered down. Very dense on what appears to be the physical level. A little less dense in what appears to be the mental level or plane. But we're going beyond that. Higher up from that. It's the most subtle. It's beyond subtle. Subtle is always referring to a thing. That what you're experiencing is formless. It's not a thing. Anything that is perceived is objective. But perceiving itself, what is that? It's a non-objective experience. So that's something that you can just explore like yourself. Because now you realize that you're adding things to it. So just like you're adding things to it, you can go back before they're added. Now you go, yeah, I'm adding the labels. I'm adding the imagination. The experience is already here, and then I go and call it a ear and a nose and a face and a chin and an elbow and a knee. But what are all those? Those are just words. Those are just thoughts. See, really, there's just the feeling, and then I go and mix it up with thoughts, and then all of a sudden, I've created something through thoughts and feelings that this is my creation. But prior to that, what is there? With these thoughts and feeling, I'm creating this story. But prior to the story, what is there? It's better to say what there is not. Well, there's no suffering, there's no unhappiness, there's no sense of lack, there's no conflict, there's no bondage. And that's what you're looking for. But you're looking for all of that within the story that you've created. And it's not possible. Because everything that you're looking for is actually prior to the story. It's beyond the story. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like you said, how it felt like my words became background noise, while you're getting familiar with the experience without the story and without the thoughts and conceptualizing and all the imagination, all of that will feel like background noise. It'll feel like you just put all that stuff to the side. Just how you put my words to the side. You're like, all right, he's guiding, he's talking, blah, blah, blah. And it sounds like now I'm talking to you in another room where it's muffled and distant because your attention is not going there anymore. It's going to what is here. So it's like anything. First, there's the awareness. That's what I'm pointing at something. Are you aware of this? Then step two, this is not really a step, but this is just basically how it works, breaking it down when you want to think of it as getting familiar with what you are. Awareness, then there's giving it attention. It's how you know anything in life. You give it attention. You're just giving your story too much attention. You're giving your own creation too much attention. You're giving your problems too much attention. So now you're aware of something, which is not really something and it's not really nothing, but you know what I'm talking about. Now you're aware of it. Now give it attention. And then you'll notice that there's more allowing. You're allowing it to be as it is. You're allowing life to be without the story. You're allowing experience to be. Everything, just let it be as it is. Let the birds be as they are. Let the wind be as it is. Let the sun be as it is. Let the rain be as it is. Any sort of tension in the body, let that be. Let everything be. Allowance. You allow everything to be. You just be, and you allow everything else to be. Now then that allowance starts turning into acceptance. Now that you're allowing it to be, now you're accepting it. The allowance is almost like you're tolerating it. But now you go one step further and it's now I'm accepting it. I'm accepting that there's this experience. I'm not creating a story about how things need to be different. I'm not imagining another way how things need to be, because that would be rejecting this moment. I'm allowing this moment, and even more, I'm accepting this moment as it is. Because I've accepted this moment, that story really starts to drop. And now that you've accepted it, now even more on the spectrum is appreciation. You can't appreciate what you don't accept, and you can't accept what you don't allow. So then there's the appreciation for what is. And there's realizing that this is it. This is it. The mind, the story is always about how this isn't it. So the story is about wanting something different. This is it. This is all there is. It's always been this. But see, with the story is always about how it needs to be something different. The story is always about how to change this. The story is always about how this is wrong. This shouldn't be. This needs to be different. I don't like this. I want something else. But without the story, this is it. So you see, nothing's actually been added. It's more what's been removed, which is the story. Prior to the story, that's where there's this experience. It's like, it's always been this. Of course. It's like when you're a little kid. Yeah, prior to when you're making stories, it's just this. And because there's that appreciation, there's this like awe for what you are experiencing. It's like that childlike awe. So in that way, that's where I said it's like nothing changed. You see, it's so simple because the story of separation is nothing but a story. Suffering is nothing but a story. Without the story, there's no suffering. Without the story, there's no separation. No separation, no suffering. It's just this. It's one undivided whole. So just as we explored, what I'll do is I'll save this one. I'll send you this video if you want to go back and rewatch it at the start when we did it, and it's even a bit more beneficial if you try with not try, but do it again, but do it with your eyes closed. Try that.